230 Whiteside Road right here in Rutherfordton. I have another one in Tryon, 226 South Trade Street, the beautiful Art Deco building right off the historic downtown Tryon, right over the railroad tracks, as we say. It's Tryon's one of those towns where you tell people where you are by landmarks. Okay, you just past the movie theater, go over the railroad tracks, cross the street from the pizzeria. That's where you'll find my building. Right across the street from Packard's Woodworking. And if you see Brad, ask him if my order's ready. It's just that kind of a town. Tryon's the only town that it takes you an hour to go run an errand because you have to talk to everybody that walks by you, and it takes about 10 minutes per person. So, I go 4 blocks, and I'm coming back like in an hour and a half. Christy won't let me leave the office. One telephone number, though, reaches me at both of them, 828-289-9300. If you need to send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. And if you've sent me an email and I haven't gotten back to you in the last few days, it's because there is 1 week, exactly 1 week left of this regular tax filing system. We're a little backed up, to say the least. So what happened, why is it not April 15th this year, Todd? Because they extended it. They extended it to May 15th. The Internal Revenue Service decided, with a little coaxing from Congress, that they were going to go ahead and push it back 1 month. So they made it May 15th, next Saturday. But because they don't work Saturdays or Sundays in D.C., Todd, or Mondays, most Tuesdays, some Wednesdays, probably no Thursdays or Fridays. But because they don't work Saturdays and Sundays, they decided to make it the next business day. The next business day is May 17th. So 1 week from this Monday is the last day to file your individual, that is your individual Form 1040 tax return. All the other tax returns stayed on their regular cycle. Why? We don't know. They stayed on their regular cycle. So partnerships, S corporations, those were due back on April 15th, 1041s. Those were due April 15th. They didn't extend those. I'm sorry. S corporations and partnerships were due March 15th. 1041s and your 1120s, those were April 15th. Those didn't change. Those were still April 15th. It was just the individuals that got extended. Okay, and this was an extension to file and an extension to pay. Okay, now, North Carolina, along with about 20-something other states, kind of didn't really go along with the plan. They said, okay, we'll bump the filing date till May 17th, but if you owe money, you still have to pay it by April 15th. Well, Todd, then people in Raleigh must have gotten a lot of heat because, got it right here, just last week, they backpedaled that. And they said, well, we're not going to go ahead and charge you interest if you filed it late. I'm sorry, if you paid it late. Because you could file it by May 17th, but you had to pay it by April 15th. Okay, the only problem is that usually I can't tell you how much you're going to owe North Carolina unless I do your tax return. I mean, I can take a guess. We can base it on last year, and you could have made a payment based on that. But for me to give you an accurate amount of money for you, the tax return has to be done. But no, the tax return was extended on the federal level. So how are we supposed to do that? So I just told most people the interest on it is very small because they weren't going to charge you penalty. They were just going to charge you interest because they feel it's their money. They should have gotten it by April 15th. They didn't. So for every day you're late, you're going to pay interest. Now they backpedaled that. They are not doing that. So if you owe North Carolina and you have not paid it yet, or you haven't filed your tax return yet because you're going to do it this week, which a lot of people are in this boat. I think the IRS estimated that filing is down around 10%. I read the numbers last week. Filings are down about 10%, 10, 11, 12% down, and there's a big surge happening just last week. We've seen it at our office. The phone has been ringing off the hook. People want us to either extend or see if we can get it filed. So if you haven't paid it, You can go ahead and pay it, and you're not going to have to pay interest. Now, the other states, there are 20-something of them, they're not jumping on board with this. A lot of them are saying, no, it's April 15th, and we want our money. And the reason is it's really a lot of work to reprogram these computers, especially a lot of states that might have older systems. We were just talking about vintage equipment here a minute ago, Todd. You think the government's got state-of-the-art equipment? I've been to some of these government offices. I'm not going to name any states that begin with T or A or M or SC, but you know which ones I'm talking about. I've been to their processing centers. Some of that equipment was old in the 90s. Let me just say that. And they're still using it today. And I mean, God bless them. They're making it work, and they're trying to save money by doing it. But you just don't flip a switch and change a date. It affects a lot of things. Okay, so let's talk about flipping a switch and making changes. I've only gotten a few phone calls on this, but one fella's very persistent, Todd, and keeps calling me about this. Okay, if you had 1099-G that was unemployment, you were going to pay tax on that, and March 11th, the government changed their mind about that. They just kind of, said, well, we're not going to do that. When I say the government, I'm talking about the IRS, Internal Revenue Service, United States Treasury, those guys. They said, we're going to go ahead and waive the first $10,200 per taxpayer. So married filing joint, they're going to waive $10,200 for each one of you of unemployment. Now, that's not cumulative. There was a little confusion with that in the beginning because, let's say, the husband had $17,000 of unemployment, the wife had zero. It wasn't $20,400 for both. It was $10,200 each. So once you hit your $10,200, the rest of it is taxable, which is kind of interesting because I don't know how they came up with that number or why they came up with that number specifically. Excuse me, I need to cough here. Can I please get some water? So I don't know why they came up with that number, because what I have found is most people either got a little bit of unemployment or they got a lot of unemployment. It seems like they either got, just my numbers, what I'm seeing here, they either got $3,000, $4,000. Need a little water here. It's the pollen, Todd. Blame everything on the pollen. Yeah, that's what I get for going out and trying to do some yard work yesterday. Yeah, I'm paying the price today. And I'm not covering the peonies at 1 a.m. So, fortunately, last night kind of had me a little worried. I didn't think it was going to get freezing, but what did it drop down to? Do we know?
That's what it's 43.
43. I was going to say 42 is what I thought the low was. I know it's cold when the wife has the gas logs on. I was like, ooh, what's the temperature going to be? So I thought I was going to have to run out at 2 a.m. and have my love walk checked at 2 a.m. Honey, would you please go cover the peonies? No, but we didn't. So 42 degrees. But it got chilly there. Okay, back to the topic, Todd, because, I always stay right on topic. What I've seen in my office is that people got, and again, this is just an observation. I don't have hard numbers to back this observation up, but most people are either got 3,000, 4,000. They were temporarily. I had people get 200 or 300. They were temporarily unemployed. Early there, places didn't know what they were going to do. They shut down maybe a week, 2, 3. The people went ahead and went on unemployment, but then they opened back up. They did whatever they had to do. They figured it out, how they could safely all come back to work and how they could safely be there, the ones that weren't working from home, and so on and so forth. So I'm seeing that, or I'm seeing people that, there's businesses that closed. There are actually people still today collecting unemployment because the business they worked for closed. Just said, enough, we're closing, we're not reopening. So I've seen it, but that seems to be what I'm seeing. It's that. So I have very few people that had exactly $10,200 or were in that, 8, 9, 10,000, 11, 12. It seems to be so. I don't know where they came up with that number. Okay, so they decided March 11th that they're going to make 10,200 tax free. So it's just a tax-free gift. Two issues immediately happened. Number one, we, meaning as a country, had already filed 70-something million tax returns had already been filed. Okay. Number two, the states said, we're not going on board with this. It is taxable. We're not making this change. And see, in fairness to the states, a lot of them, because they administered the unemployment program, they knew exactly how much money they had put out there, and they knew exactly how much revenue they were going to get. And a lot of these states had already budgeted that money. So they're like, well, we're not on board with this. So a lot of states are not doing it. So it was very confusing. Then the IRS, so we, the preparer community, what I do, prepare taxes, we immediately saw another problem. The other problem was, what do we do about all the tax returns we filed? The IRS said, we'll take care of it. We're going to mail everybody back a refund if you've filed your tax return and you made it taxable and you paid taxes on it. We're going to go ahead and give you a refund. Okay? Or if you owe the IRS money, they'll go ahead and take that refund and apply it to the money you owe. Well, that was very nice of them to do that. But immediately another problem became obvious, though. It's not a standalone issue. Unemployment affects tax credits. A lot of tax credits. Most early filers file early because they're getting tax credits. They call it a refund. Okay, and the IRS cannot, because of the way their computers are set up, they can't go ahead and run your tax return the way a preparer does, the way I can do in my office, and calculate all the credits and calculate everything and all those other things that happen on your tax return. So it took the IRS about 3 weeks to figure this out. It was really funny because we were just waiting to hear from them. It took about 3 weeks to figure this out. And then, because initially they said, do not amend your tax return. Do not amend your tax return. We don't need millions of amended tax returns coming in. We're already behind 6 to 9 months. By the way, they are behind 6 to 9 months. I'm getting letters in the mail from tax issues that I've been working on that I had sent them letters March of 2020. So they're working their way up. They're up to about May now. May, June, it depends who you talk to. I had somebody tell me that their department's caught up through September. I was speaking with the agent, lovely, kind person, Monday, and very nice. She was helping me with a problem. So I asked her, how's it going? And she said, well, in our department, we're up to September, October. I said, really? You guys are way ahead of the curve, because most people I'm hearing June. She said, yeah. She said, and then I might just be optimistic. So anyway, they're very behind. So they did not want these amended returns. So what we decided to do is we're just going to wait for people to get that check from the IRS. So if you're waiting for this money, our advice right now is wait for the check to show up. Then, if you did your own tax return, or if you came to a preparer, if you came to me, we're being proactive, and we already have a list of who paid taxes on it. Yes, Todd, and that one person that keeps calling me, his name is at the top of the list. I want you to know. He is actually brilliant. He's a brilliant man. He's staying on top of it. Yes, he's making sure Gilbert's doing his work is what he's doing. So I should never have given him my cell phone number. So we're going to figure those out. But first, I want to see that check, because I want to make sure the IRS did it right. And then we'll go back and we'll figure out these credits, and we'll figure out. I've actually only done one just as a hypothetical to see what would happen. And this one I did had credits. It was a good one because it had several things in there that we're watching. So if you just calculated the refund, the money back due for the unemployment, it was right at $1,000, I really don't remember the number. It was let's just say it was around $1,200. But when I refigured the credits, it was around $2,000. So this is a substantial difference. This is going to be really interesting to watch this unfold. Okay, so they said we're going to start this 1st of May. Now, when you tell the American public we're going to do something the 1st of May, actually, I've gone back over the emails, and they say we're going to start around the 1st of May. And then when I say emails, we get notifications from the Internal Revenue Service, and they publish a lot of things. And you watch it we're going to be starting this the 1st of May. Then it went to the beginning of May. Then it went to May. Because when you tell the American public we're going to do something the 1st of May, Todd, what's the first thing that comes into your mind? May 1st, Todd, thank you. Your honesty is brutal. May 1st, I want some money. That's exactly it. May 1st, me want money. That is pretty much every message, every phone call we've gotten about this topic.
8 days in.
Yeah, exactly. Today's the 8th. It's a week behind, so is it in the mail? Or are they going to direct deposit? Are they going to send another check like a stimulus check? How are they going to do this? These are the phone calls we're getting. And really, they have been like crickets on the subject. All they're saying is beginning of May. Well, beginning of May is come and gone. We're now inching into the middle of May. If I had to sit here and make a prediction, just for everybody that's waiting for this money, this next wave of money, because this is going to be this is the next thing now. As far as we know, there's no more stimulus coming, and they're talking about the advanced EIC payments being July now, is what they're saying. Portal is going to be July 1st, so that money's going to start coming out July, August, September-ish. You got to kind of put all those months together when you're talking about the government, right? September, October, November-ish. We're going to be doing that. So this is the next. They're telling us nothing. We have zero information. So we're just going to sit back and wait and see what we're going to do. Todd, let's take a really quick break. But whatever you do, do not file an amended return. Okay, Todd, let's go ahead and take a quick break. And somebody actually called the station and asked a question about, well, we call it ministerial pay. Talked about how ministers are taxed. And, boy, that is a loaded question. That is a 3-hour program, Todd. That is a 3-hour Gilbert Talks Taxes. Let's go ahead and take a quick break. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. This is Gilbert. I want to tell you about Jesse James Railroad Express at 531 Railroad Avenue in Rutherford. It's a great place. Jesse's a good friend of mine, and I encourage you to stop by and support him. On Mondays, he's doing a 99-cent hot dog, mustard, chili, and onions. When you go, tell him Mr. Fabulous himself sent you. I want to tell you about a little-known Rutherford County gem, Integrity Marble and Granite, located at 287 Shiloh Road in Forest City. They are the premier stone fabrication company in the western North Carolina region. They specialize in granite, marble, and natural stone, offering complete design and installation. Their design center and Kohler showroom features vanities, decorative accessories, bathroom, and kitchen fixtures. You do not have to go to Charlotte or Asheville for this kind of quality. We have it right here in Forest City. Stop in their showroom and browse their beautiful displays, or you can call 828-247-8801 for a free quote. You can also go to their website, www.integritymarblegranite.com, and look at the pictures and see samples of their available materials. Now, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes, and they will give you $100 off any sink purchase. That's Integrity Marble and Granite. Welcome back. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. My telephone number is 828-289-9300. Have 2 offices, Tryon, Rutherford, went through all of that. You can send me an email, gilbert@gilberttalkstaxes.com. I did not welcome those of you live streaming a lot of people, Todd, catch this later on YouTube. They pick it up later. What's the numbers at right now? I can't tell. I can't see. It's very small. Oh no, that number will spike. That number will go up incrementally. But I get phone calls later. I get phone calls from all over the country. People catch this. They'll be just Googling taxes. I guess people just sitting at home Googling taxes, and they tell me the videos come up, and they listen to them, and I get all kinds of little comments. And it's great. I've talked to some great people. www.wcab59.com is the website for you can listen on. Okay, ministerial clergy. It's okay. So I could do a 3-hour program on this. This really goes back to old tax law that we still have today. And it really does need to be updated. And it's not that they pay less money on their taxes. It's that traditionally ministers were paid differently. I mean, this goes back to the old, chicken and hay days. That's how they would get paid. Some chicken, some eggs, some hay. Most ministers would get a parsonage as part of their deal. They would get housing. So if they took a job at a church, they would stay at the parsonage, the church housing, whatever you want to call it, or whatever it was. So there was all kinds of things like that. So they tried to make breaks for them because as a group, they really were among the lowest paid. I mean, they were. Now again, I'm talking about back in the day, back when teachers were low paid. And I know teachers will argue with me today and tell me how low paid they are today. Can you imagine what it was like 60 years ago, 2 generations ago? And that's why, I mean, this could turn into a whole social commentary. Like I said, I could talk about this topic for 3 hours. So Todd, just stop me at some point if I get going. What happened is there was a higher calling. Teachers, ministers, groups of people like that. And even before nursing became the profession it is today, and I'm talking late 1800s, early 1900s, which really was not that long ago. That lady that you had the birthday call in, she's 96. I mean, you could have some really interesting conversations with her. She would have been a Depression-era child. So there are, and I run into clients, especially in Tryon, because Tryon's more of a retirement community. I run into clients that have vivid memories of post-World War I, as a child. Soldiers coming home, soldiers that only, been home a few years, things like that. Depression, I mean, they have the Depression era. And while they may not have remembered, the details, they certainly lived the moment. So these people, so this kind of goes back to that. And then they get the tax-free parsonage allowance, but it used to be in lieu of lower pay. So there are some special rules there, and there are some special situations. Now, today, fast forward to the last 20 years, a lot has changed. A lot of ministers don't want a parsonage. They want to be able to buy a house so they can turn around and sell that house and make some money like everybody else from a thing called appreciation, because they missed out on all of that. So while somebody bought a house, especially in some of the bigger cities, we've all met people down here that have come here from New York or Florida, and they've got a story about buying a house 40 years ago for $70,000, $80,000 and selling it today for $400,000. It's called appreciation, and they're having it, and these ministers missed out on all that. So it really is a trade-off, and I'm not justifying the tax breaks they get. They do get tax breaks, but they really don't get as many tax breaks as you would think. Most of the organized denominations do not have, and I'm being careful when I say this because some of them do have very good retirement plans, but most of them, for the most part, when it comes to retirement planning and it comes to, things like 401ks, corporate pension structures, deferred compensation, there's a word you'll hear in corporate world called the golden parachute, where people will sign on for a job and they'll get all these benefits, and part of it will be a severance package. Usually, if the congregation doesn't like the minister, his severance package consists of a goodbye, and that's it. They don't get much. I actually, this is a whole story. I was actually doing financial planning with a minister, an old school minister, and part of his package included free burial in the church cemetery. That was like it. That's what he got. Yeah, and he got a stipend in retirement, but nothing like what he could have gotten if he was working in the private sector, or even if he was working for the government. Either of those, he would have gotten nothing. But he was a minister because he wanted to help people. That's where you get into that higher calling, and it is a higher calling. And societally, that's a tough one for Saturday morning, Todd. Societally, as a society, we tend to value these people more. Nurses, school teachers, ministers, because we consider it a higher calling. So there was that social thing that went on to it. But do they get these big tax breaks? Yes and no. They don't. They do get certain tax-free things, but they are not exempt from as many things as people realize. And I'm trying to say this really nice without naming names. If you've been watching the media lately, which I don't, but if you've been watching the media, some ministers and some big name ministers have been the targets of IRS audits, and the IRS scrutinizes them very, very much because they do a lot of things for cash, and they are supposed to claim those love offerings. There was a case that went before a judge, tax court judge, and the minister's argument was, well, yes, I did get all this money, and I didn't report it on my income tax, but I gave so much of it away, and I did all these things with it. And he probably did. Nobody denied that he did not do this. He had witnesses. And the judge said, well, it's great that you're very generous with other people's money, but it's still other people's money. Money you get is taxable, and you're supposed to report it. He was trying to backpedal, and he had gotten quite a bit of money. It was a very large congregation, and he wasn't reporting money for, when they preside at weddings or they preside at funerals, or they preside at special events, the family may sometimes give them a love offering, whatever your denomination may call it, a stipend, a gift, whatever. That is taxable. They are supposed to report it. Whether they do or not, it's between them and God. It really is. But so it's a subject. It's a subject it's a very taxing matter. On that pun, let's take a break, Todd. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9.
People come up to me all the time and say, Gilbert, thank you for doing my tax return. I just got my refund. Any idea what I can do with that refund? Oh, yes, I've got an idea. Call NC Tractor and Farm Supply on Railroad Avenue. Get yourself a brand new Massey Ferguson. You can call Phil at 828-429-5008. And when you're talking to Phil, mention you heard it on Gilbert Talks Taxes. You know what he'll do for you? Absolutely nothing. But me, he's going to give me a discount when I buy my Massey Ferguson. As we get ready for this year's tax season, there's one thought on everyone's mind. Will Gilbert's hair look fabulous this year? Oh, yes, it will. How can I say that? Because I go to Robin Saunders at RSL Salon. Whether it's a good haircut, a pedicure, or a manicure, you can count on RSL Salon. Call Robin at 828-289-9110 because everyone deserves to look fabulous.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590, FM 100.9. Program is Gilbert Talks Taxes because, as we all know, taxation with representation has not been such a good idea, folks. And I don't care how many stimulus checks they give you. There will be a price to pay. The only free cheese is where, Todd? In a trap. The only free cheese is in a trap. Now, I hope I answered that man's question about ministerial and what he was asking. It really is a whole topic and maybe one day I'll do a program about ministers. And I've talked about ministerial pay, parsonage allowances, and the accounting responsibilities to the congregation, to the church, to do that. So I've got several directions I want to go in. Well, talking about someday doing a program next week, Todd, next Saturday will be my last program for this regular tax season. We're going to take a little break, and we will be coming back. I just don't know when. And it just really depends on how much stuff is happening with the IRS, because we're expecting a lot to be going on with them. So I don't know when. We don't have a date yet, but we will have a date. But next Saturday will be my last program for this regular tax season. So you'll be able to go home an hour earlier on Saturday mornings. Todd, get that much-needed beauty sleep. And then Jesse needs to be, we were just talking about, he's not open Saturday mornings anymore. We need to talk to him. What am I going to do with my Saturday mornings now? Jesse's closed, and I'm not going to be coming here. Okay, we'll figure something out. So next Saturday is it. So Monday the 17th is it. You got to get your tax return filed. What if you are not ready? File an extension. Just file an extension. It's free to file an extension. Just do it. We've already filed, I don't know how many, because there's people that we know. There's people every year that don't file their tax returns till June, July, just because of their business, what they do. They're very busy right now, and they've already, like in February, they're telling me, just go ahead and extend. When I do their W-2s, their 1099s and all that, they're like, just go ahead and extend. I'll see you in June. I'll see you after the 4th of July. I'll see you in the fall, because when you extend, it's an automatic 6-month extension. Now this year, because they extended the personals, it's still October 15th. So if you file an extension, if you're a business and you filed an extension, a partnership, an S-Corp, you filed an extension, that is September 15th. Okay, September 15th. But if you're an individual and you file an extension, or a C-Corp and you file an extension, you have until October 15th. Okay, and that is a hard deadline. They are not going to extend that, because that already gets into November, and November they're already programming their computers for the next season. Usually they stop accepting electronic e-files. They take paper filing all throughout the year, but the electronic filing, that usually stops somewhere around Thanksgiving, either the week before or the week after. It just depends on how it falls. But we usually try to have all of that off our plate by November 15th. That way it's not an issue. It's done. Anything after that, typically we have to paper file. And those are usually amended returns, so it just depends how we deal with that. But this is going to be it. So if you don't think you're going to make this deadline, go ahead and get that extended. South Carolina doesn't require any special extension form. Your federal extension is good enough for them. You just file your federal. North Carolina does have its own form. Usually we electronically do them both together. Now, if you think you're going to owe some money, you're going to owe some money, we can go ahead and just send them a little bit of money, or a lot of bit of money, depends, with that extension. We can do that electronically also, and it is free. There is no charge. The IRS, the banks don't charge for that. And just send them an estimated tax payment. If you overestimate, you'll get it back. If you underestimate, then you just got to pay the penalty and the interest on the difference. And yes, if you file an extension, it is not an extension to pay. It is not an extension to pay. It is only an extension to file, which that is one of the biggest penalties, is your failure to file penalty. And not filing that extension can be very costly. So even if you think you can pull it together, go ahead and file the extension. That way you're safe, because a lot of things can happen on the way to the bank, on the way to filing that thing. A lot of things can happen. So get that done. Because we are electronic I'm an ERO, electronic return originator, at my office. It goes directly to the servers, directly to the IRS. We can actually e-file up to midnight, Monday night. But Todd, I'm not going to be up midnight, Monday night. We're going to have it all done. We've already told everybody. We are going to have it all done 6 o'clock. Boom, we're done. We're not. That's what I say now. Drive by my office at 11:59 on Monday night. You'll see me there. Every year, I'm there, which means I don't get out of there till 1 in the morning. But we are way ahead of the curve this year because of. See, we weren't thinking they were going to extend. They did this March 11th. We were thinking the whole time it's April 15th, so we worked as if it was April 15th all the way up until even after they said we're extending. We kept working. We just kept working, and really the staff has done a great job. Now, let me talk. Okay, I've talked about that. I've talked about the deadline. I've talked about that. Okay. Let me get on this subject just to get this over with, Todd, because I think I need to talk about this. The president, what's his name, wants to give the IRS authority to regulate the Wild West of paid tax preparers. This is actually a press release. There's quotes. By the way, I did little air quotes. Those of you live streaming, watching me, www.wcab59.com. I'm doing air quotes. Okay. Watch me with those air quotes. Wild West of paid tax preparers. And then the story went on. It was pretty much a fluff piece from the White House, talking about everything they've done, all their money they've spent, everything they've given out. They want to start regulating tax preparers, calling it the Wild West of tax preparers. Okay. The IRS has actually been doing that since 1867. We're called enrolled agents. Actually, the first enrolled agents were 1870. The Dead Horse Act created enrolled agents. After the Civil War, so you get history, you get tax law, you get it all here, Todd, on this program, all in 1 hour. After the Civil War, the federal government wanted to compensate Southern farmers who had their property damaged, specifically those that were damaged by Sherman's march to Savannah, among other things. There were many other horrific battles. Okay, we all know it. It was a horrible thing, but the federal government in D.C. wanted to do something for Southern farmers and planters. Necessarily farmers, people whether they owned the land or not, people that worked in agriculture, because their lives were destroyed. Their source of income was destroyed, so they wanted to help these people. So they were offering them compensation for dead livestock. And these farmers were supposed to come to Washington, D.C. with, proof of their dead livestock. Well, after about 6 months of it, those boys in Congress figured out that they had probably paid for the same dead horse about 10 times. Because when they started adding it up, they had paid for more dead livestock than there was living livestock before the war started. So the math didn't add up. They decided to create an office called the enrolled agent. The enrolled agent was enrolled with the United States Treasury, which we still are today. I am enrolled at the United States Treasury, okay, through the Internal Revenue Service. And these agents would then go to the South, and they would actually represent the farmers. They would actually represent the taxpayer. They did not represent the government. Okay? That way, they were helping the farmers, because they weren't just another government agent down there telling people what to do. They were actually on the farmer's side of the cart, counting how many horses were dead and how many cows and chickens and whatever else they lost. and it was a serious job, and it really was part of Reconstruction, and it was a great part of the history that this office was created. And then these guys would come back to Washington, D.C., and report to Congress and get that money and take it back to those farmers. So Joe Biden's only 150 years behind. Maybe. It depends. Yeah, 151 years behind when he talks about the Wild West of paid tax preparers. Now, what? What are you? Todd is still laughing. Todd, just so you know, I have bit my lip while I'm talking 3 times, okay? Yes, I was going to make many a reference, but I'm not going to out of respect or what's left of respect that I have for the office, okay? I was just going to move on with it. What's interesting about this story is that, to me, and the story goes on, they quote a lot of prominent people who have been saying we must regulate tax preparers. New York and California are the only 2 states that have licensing standards. In California, you have to be a tax attorney, a CPA, an enrolled agent to prepare tax returns. You just can't go into California with TurboTax, go buy TurboTax off the shelf, and start preparing tax returns on a laptop like you can in the other 59 states, actually New York, so 58 states. There, which I have said on this program from day one, that is wrong. Please beware, people. Be careful when you go to a tax preparer. Is it a tax preparer that's there all year long? Is it a tax preparer that safeguards your data? Do they actually have firewalls in place? Do they have, I have a whole list of things that we do to safeguard your data. And the bottom line is we spend a lot of money doing it. That's really the issue. They don't want to spend money to do this. I've told the story on this program many times. We go to these continuing ed classes. People from all over the country come, and I've sat next to people that don't even password protect their laptops. I remember a lady sat next to Christy and was asking Christy, do you do all that password protecting stuff? Do you do all that security stuff? And Christy looked at her like, are you serious? My husband is, and we change the passwords all the time. It's not just that we do that. We're doing it. We've got routers and firewalls and all kinds of stuff. And this lady was just shocked. And so I've talked about this before. The problem with this White House plan is that they want to give the IRS the authority to regulate tax preparers. It's been tried. And it's failed because this authority is a state-level authority to begin with, number one. You cannot federally regulate this. If people want to go to a tax preparer, they can. If they don't have to, and they can go to whoever they want. That's the bottom line. You can't create another licensure. You just can't. They tried. They tried it in 2014, and there was a lawsuit, Loving versus the IRS, and every judge that this thing went before went with the tax preparers that were suing the IRS. The IRS just does not have that kind of sweeping authority. So on the one hand, I think it's great that now this at least has the attention of the White House, which it didn't before, and it'd be great to see them do something. But on the other hand, I worry about infringement on people's rights. You have a right to do this, and that's what the Loving case hinged on, was that the IRS did not have the right to regulate this. But the regulation at the level exists already. So this is, I don't know. This is going in the wrong direction, and it hasn't even started. This isn't the issue. The issue they need to be worried about is ID theft. That's their biggest problem that they've got and are going to have. Even bigger than this tax gap, even bigger than all these other things, which is just mathematical computations that really, I don't believe there is any such thing as a tax gap. So we're looking forward to this. we're looking forward to it, but it's not going to be one set of laws. It's just not. The federal government, it doesn't have that authority. It's still at the state level, and that's what I'm concerned about. Okay, let's let that go. Let's take the last break, Todd. The last break for today. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB AM 590 FM 100.9.
This is Gilbert. If you owe the IRS past due taxes, don't call those toll-free national numbers. Local, affordable help is right here in Rutherford County. Stop garnishments, levies, and liens. Call Gilbert Carmona at 828-289-9300. All initial consultations are free. Call Gilbert, 828-289-9300.
Hi there, this is Kimberly, and I'm here to tell you about Peterson's Auto Service and Detail Shop. As a woman, I'm often apprehensive about taking my car to a dirty service garage. But you can be assured that Peterson's, located at 478 Butler Road, Forest City, has an incredibly clean and safe environment where you get high-quality service at a great price. Peterson's was voted Rutherford County's best auto service 3 years in a row. So take your car to Peterson's for brakes, oil change, North Carolina inspection, tire rotation, headlight lens restoration, scratch removal, and meticulous auto detailing. That's Peterson's at 478 Butler Road, Forest City. You can call him for an appointment at 245-8889.
We are back. Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9. We have got to do, Peterson moved. Did you know that? Todd, yes. Peterson closed. We need a new commercial for Peterson. I have just been so busy with taxes. You know that thing that I do. Peterson moved. Yes, he did. He's closer to us now. He's over here on 64. He's actually at 620 U.S. Highway 64, Rutherfordton, and he is specializing. Hey, you haven't driven by there and seen it? The place is beautiful. What he's done there is fantastic. It was a body shop for years, and then there was a company there that was doing some kind of shipping or something of containers, and now he purchased that from them, and he has just made that building beautiful. And of course, he is meticulous, the attention to detail with him. He does. So this is everything he does. He does swirl marks, acid rain, watermark, scratch removal. He does leather cleaning. He does interior seats, conditioning, headlight restoration, ceramic coating. He also does window tinting, and he does it residential and commercial also, but he does mostly automotive. You got to go see Peterson, 620 U.S. Highway 64. I got to get used to saying that. Peterson Detail and Tint. And by the way, when you go there, tell him that Gilbert said, "Eso es fabuloso." Okay? Yeah, he'll get a kick out of you saying that. "Eso es fabuloso." I had to repeat it a few times last week for Lou. She was going to go over there and say it to him. That means this is fabulous in Portuguese. Yeah, Peterson does a great job. I really recommend them. And when we come back, we are going to have a new commercial. Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, we are back. So, have I covered the don't amend your tax return because it's the first week of May and you haven't gotten your check yet? Have I covered that enough? Yes, I have. Okay, unfortunately. So that fella's not going to be calling me this week. Maybe. I wouldn't go that far, said Todd. Now, you've done your tax return. Now what? What do you do? What do you do with those documents? Those of you that know, that come to my office, know I give you a little booklet. I don't just staple a couple of pages together and give it to you. I actually give you a booklet. I scan all your data. It's securely, digitally stored in our safe bunker, undisclosed location, in digital triplicate. I have three separate backups in 3 different locations. I'm not losing that data, okay? It's too important when you need it. So everything is stored. You get your little booklet. What do you do with that booklet? Just put it away. I tell people, keep it simple, because I get the phone call a lot, how long should I keep my records? Especially this time of the year, because they go back and they see they've got every tax return they've ever filed. Or they've got no tax returns, don't have a clue what they did with last year's stuff, don't know where they even might have put it, aren't even sure I even gave them something back. I've gotten that phone call. How long should we keep stuff? Surprisingly enough, Todd, there is no rule or no law, no statute about how long you're supposed to keep your tax documents. Okay, there's no, and I've heard CPAs and EAs and different people say the IRS requires you to keep them for 3 years. The IRS ain't requiring nothing. There is no rule about how long you should keep your things. We use the 3, 7, and 10 is me personally, Gilbert Carmona, my little thing that I say. 3, 7, and 10. 3 years for sure you need to keep handy, like accessible, know where it is, the last 3 years. So in this situation, you would have 2020, 2019, 2018. Why, Todd, do I do that? Because most audits that happen right now, and don't forget, most audits are random. There really is no red flag. There are some things that are going to increase the probability of you possibly being audited, but as far as a red flag, that just really doesn't, that kind of thinking doesn't really exist. Okay, what the IRS will do more is they will target known violations. I actually had an article here I was going to get into, but it's a little too complicated to talk about on the air. It's not just a simple topic, but the IRS right now has an active campaign that's going to be targeting high worth, high wealth individuals. Okay, because worth and wealth are two different things in the IRS's eyes. So that's a whole topic, that's a whole story that I was going to get into. They've actually, there are CPAs that are gearing up for this right now. I'm always thinking about an audit. I'm always trying to be ready for you if you're audited. That's why I scan and I save everything. And an audit could be a simple thing where the verification, many people have gotten a letter saying we're verifying your data. You call a number. You can do it online. Some people can do it online. They'll ask you some simple questions. Other people, you have to get an agent on the phone. You're going to hold for a while, agent get on the phone, and they're going to ask you some questions. What was your income on box 1 of your W-2? What was this? In 2018, how much money did you make? What was your line 6 income? Whatever. They'll do something like that. So typically they'll go back 3 years on those types of audits. So that's why I say keep 20, 19, 18. Okay, have those 3 years where you know where they are. I know Gilbert gave me that little book, and that little book is right here on my shelf or wherever you keep it. Okay, some people want digital. I can email you a PDF, and I can email you a PDF of the documents I scanned. No problem. I'll print you the book and send you a PDF, whatever you want. I have one person that wants me to put it on a jump drive. They bring me a jump drive. I'll put it right on the jump drive for them. So that's the 3 year. That's the 3. 7, you want to have your tax returns in your possession for 7 years. You want to have 7 years of records handy and where you know where they are, whether it's digital or whatever. How you have it doesn't matter. Why 7 years? Because most legal matters can go back on average 7 years. There is no law that says on year 8 you're off the hook or on year 4 you're off the hook. There's no law. The IRS in an audit, they will start with 3 years. Typically they'll be looking at something within those 3 years. If they find a problem, they will do what's called expanding the audit. Okay, which is just a fancy way of saying you're in trouble, they're looking at something. Okay, they're going to expand the audit. That's a phrase I don't like to hear, Todd. I don't hear it too often, but it does happen. Okay, usually there's something in question, and they'll say, so they're looking at 2018, they'll say, I want to look at 2017. I want to look at specifically, they don't just look at your tax return looking for problems. Usually they're focused on something. Okay, they're focused on one issue, and then they expand the audit if that one issue starts becoming multiple issues, and that's typically what happens. So they'll go back. So we want to have that. We want to have 7 years, and then 10 years. Why? Because if there's fraud, okay, let me say it this way. Typically, if they've expanded the audit and they're suspecting fraud, they can go back up to 10 years. Now, if they have proof of fraud and willful malfeasance, how's that for a legal phrase? Saturday morning, that's a good one. Willful malfeasance. Fraud and willful malfeasance, they can go back to the beginning of time on your tax returns. So there is no statute, there is no law. You just have to know that you did right, and you have to be at ease with what you do, and that's why it's so important that you look at your tax returns before you file them. You go over everything and make sure you're comfortable with it. Just because you're getting a refund, it doesn't mean your tax return was done right. Okay? That seems to be the thing. Do I owe? Yes, you owe. Oh, no, you did something wrong. Something's wrong. I owe. I never owe. That's the one I always hear. Well, there's a first time for everything. So save them. Save those tax returns. Instead of throwing them out, what I recommend you do is go ahead and scan them and just put them in some kind of a digital vault. However you're saving, wherever you save your pictures, it's so easy today. I mean, with iCloud and all these apps have some kind of a digital storage with them. So you can put it there, but just have it somewhere because you never know when you're going to need it. Now, the IRS, all they care about is that in an audit, or if they want some information or verification or something, you give them a piece of paper. So whatever format you save it in, we just have to be able to print it. That's the bottom line. So whether you're using an app, or using an app to track mileage, or using an app to track your expenses, or using an app to do whatever for your business, they're not going to ask to see your app. They're not going to ask what app did you use. They're going to ask for your login to your app. They're not. You get into all kinds of privacy things with that. They don't do that. They don't access your bank account just for no reason. What they do is they request these documents, and they need them in paper, 8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 14 if you have to, but that's how they want it. And I've told many stories about sending packages with 200 and 300 pages, but that's what they want, and that's how they do it. So however you store it, that's what you're going to do, okay? But save this information. Save that little book that we give you, and don't be so easy to save a PDF because just stick it somewhere. Have it somewhere where you know you can access it. Okay, we will be back next week. It will be the last program. I'm going to talk about some tax planning because you know what? If you haven't done your tax return by next Saturday, that's it. You're extending, and we're going to talk about tax planning. Next week, I'm going to talk about some tax planning. I'm going to get a little bit more into talking about estates again. And now we see wave 2 of tax season, which is the letters that start coming back from the IRS. That's what's happening right now. The letters that start coming back from the IRS. Okay, I will be back next Saturday. Todd, will you be here? Great. I will see you next Saturday. Thank you for listening. This is Gilbert Talks Taxes, WCAB, AM 590, FM 100.9.
Yes, at 6:05 here on 100.9 FM 590 AM WCAB Rutherford.
WCAB Rutherford.
Jesse James Railroad Express is becoming the Rutherford County hotspot with